us strength to rise above.
As well. Matthew chapter 6 is where we are at this morning. Matthew chapter 6. The verses that were read in your hearing, Matthew chapter 6. Well, I'm just going to read verse 25, then I'll deal with the rest. Matthew 6:25 says, "Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing?" This whole thought of worry means the word itself, worry, means to torment with anxiety. The word anxiety means fearful over what may happen. Meaning you're terrified at not what's going to, what may. It's your mindset. You know, because of your worry and anxiety, you're negative. You can't see any type of good coming. In GoodRx.com, it says the physical manifestations of worry and anxiety show up as digestive issues, unintentional weight loss, headaches and migraines, insomnia, heart disease, high blood pressure, dental issues, respiratory problems, fatigue, and low libido. All because of worry. You ever heard somebody say you're going to worry yourself to death? You know, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Now, the spiritual manifestations of it and mental, feeling lonely, depressed, hopeless, constantly pessimistic, expecting only bad outcomes. You can't see anything good. And then with that hopelessness and that depression, and then nothing is going to turn out good, and I'm nobody, now you are suicidal. But what we want to do is look into the Bible and see what Jesus says about this whole thought of worry, or the solution to it. And I want to simply entitle this lesson, "Do Not Worry." Do not worry. I don't want to be complicated and sophisticated. I mean, do not worry. Somebody say, "Well, you don't know what I've been through. And you don't know what I've dealt with in life, preacher. Walk a mile in my shoes." I don't know what you've been through. I don't know all that you have had to endure, but I know somebody that knows. And he does not want you and I to live a life worrying, being negative and stressed with a dark mentality that nothing good will ever happen to you, or nothing good will ever come your way. Now, let's go back upward into Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. Now, Jesus draws this interesting analogy in Matthew 6:22. "The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness?" Somebody said, "Well, what does that have to do with worry?" Just wait. Just wait. You know, Jesus is the master teacher. You know what he's doing. He know how he's connecting this. He draws this analogy of the eye and spiritual focus. A person's eye, like if it's good and healthy, the eye allows light to come in. But if it's unhealthy, let's say a person is blind, well, there's darkness. So it is if your spiritual focus is off. If your spiritual focus is unhealthy, or your spiritual focus is good, if your spiritual focus is good, then your whole mindset is full of light because you are focused on God. You're focused on His Word. You're focusing on faithfully serving God. You're spirit-led, led by what thus said the Lord. See, when your eye is good and healthy, you're okay. You can see, you know where you're going. You can be positive. So it is when you're spiritually focused, you're good. You can be positive. You know where you're going. You understand the purpose of life. All because you're focusing on God. Now, if your eye is bad, your spiritual focus is off, then there's darkness. Because you're not focused on God. You're not focused on His Word. You're not allowing the Spirit to lead you by the Word. And therefore, Satan is able to grab hold of your mind. And my friends, my brothers and sisters, when we're not focused on God, there's darkness. And when there's darkness, because of the lack of focus on God, or you're not focusing at all on God, guess what takes place? A feeling of hopelessness, a feeling of emptiness, loneliness. But can I submit to you this reality? The feeling when you're not focused on God, when you're not focused on His Word, and when you're not spirit-led, the feeling of loneliness is real because you don't have God. The feeling of this sense of hopelessness is real because you don't have God. This feeling of I don't know what to expect out of life is real because you don't have God. You're not healthy. So without God, there's complete darkness in the mind and in the soul. So what did Jesus just let us know? That when you are focused on God, you're spiritually and mentally healthy. But if you're not focused on God, you're spiritually and mentally unhealthy. You're not in a good place. And you need to draw near to God now. You need to start obeying God now because He is the key to your depression. Now, I understand that there are some biological components where you may actually need some treatment. There may be some type of imbalance within your system. But for the most part, a life without God is a lonely life, a hopeless life, and a depressed life. But a life with God is healthy. Jesus said, if therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? You don't know how bad off you are without God. Bad relationships, bad decisions, so on and so on. All these things come because your spiritual focus is off. Now, watch what the Lord says in verse 24. So now we're getting down to it. In order to start the process of eliminating worry, I need to focus on God. Somebody just need to refocus. Now, verse 24, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Big problem. Another big focus problem. You need to make up your mind who you're living for, God or money. Either it's all about God or all about the dollar. It can't be both. No one in this world can have two masters, two individuals that are supreme in authority over your life. You're going to have to make the decision, because you're either going to love one, hate one, be loyal to one, or despise the other. You're either going to love the fact that you're serving God and everything else comes after that, or you're going to despise the fact that you hear sermons on you can't forsake the assembly for a job. Then that's when the preacher becomes your enemy. I didn't write it, it's just you didn't like that I said it. Why you don't like that I said it? Because of the fact that you're loyal to the dollar. And now things are being said that interrupts your relationship with the dollar. And since you have a deep relationship with the dollar, you have an issue with God, because God is saying, do this and do this and do this, and is interrupting your relationship with the dollar. And if you look through the history of the pages of inspiration, you'll find men like Abraham having to make a decision when God told him to leave your country, leave your kindred, leave everything and start all over faithfully following me. Well, Lord, I got a job over here and I got this money. What about the rich young ruler? What was his big issue? Why wouldn't he follow Jesus? Money. Can't give up all this stuff. We love cars. We love houses. We want the American dream. So would Christianity interfere with the American dream? Would it interrupt how much money you make? It may. It may interfere with your lifestyle. God may throw some things off in your lifestyle if you choose to completely follow him. But I have to make up in my mind, who am I going to follow? Am I going to be more committed to God or more committed to the stuff? And Jesus is saying, I have to make a decision. You have to make a decision. Who are you going to be loyal to? You can't serve both. A decision has to be made. Now, keep your finger there and come with me to 1 Timothy chapter 6. And we're going to start right at verse 8. 1 Timothy chapter 6, starting with verse number 8. Watch the instruction Paul gives to the young minister Timothy in 1 Timothy 6:8. Having food and clothing, with these we shall be content. You know, you got everything you need, Timothy. You know, Timothy has been being sent all over the place. Timothy, you have what you need. Be content. Be satisfied with what you have. Verse 9 and following. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through, underlined, with many sorrows. If you choose money, you have to know what comes with it. Those who have this crave to be rich. Now, let me say this. The Bible is not speaking against being rich. That's not the context. It's that if that's your number one desire, you have a problem, though. If that's what you're living for, to be rich, your mindset is off. Those who have this strong craving and desire, and that's their focus, fall into temptation, Satan can easily trap you with your worldly desires, a temptation and a snare. Satan will draw you out and trap you. And into many foolish and harmful love. You'll do some silly things, and you'll get into some desires that will hurt you, that will harm you. Why? Because you're going after the dollar, which, look, it drowns men. They can't swim in all the money. Just the desire of it, and when they finally get it, you ever heard the reports on how these people are feeling? They don't feel fulfilled. They're not satisfied. They're not happy. They're some of the greatest actors in the world because they put on some nice clothing and they invite you to their big home, but they're actually not happy. No. See, it drowns men in destruction. They destroy their lives by being covetous and perdition. Ultimately, you go to the lake of fire. What does this have to do with worry and anxiety? Well, your focus is not on God if it's on money. The love and the desire to have money, the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. You ever seen a woman leave her husband because she saw a guy in a Bentley? Because this person was slicker and smoother and cooler, and he has it all down pat, and she just falls in love with so-and-so. She doesn't know anything about him. She doesn't really know his name. Only thing she see is money. And what does she want? The money. So what will she do to get the money? Boy, she'll paint up her face, put on some makeup, lipstick, and she'll start walking a certain way to get old Joe. And old Joe, you see, he lustful anyway. So he just fall for it, hook, line, and sinker, as the old school say. He fall for, in our society, that's her sugar daddy. He's the one that supplies the money, but it's harming her and him. Destruction, perdition. What comes with this? Hopelessness, loneliness, depression, gambling, casino, losing money. Get the picture? Things are going downhill. Why? You got to have the money. It's the root of all kinds of evil. All type of wrong comes out of this. And even some they strayed away from the faith. They left the church. They're not faithful to God because they're pursuing the dollar. Look, God will give them enough, but what they have from God is not enough. They want more. So they stray from the gospel system in their greediness. They have to have more. They can't be satisfied with what they have. And they have pierced themselves. They have hurt themselves with many sorrows. What's coming from all this? A separation from God, which equals loneliness, hopelessness, depression, so on and so on. So I have to have my spiritual focus in a good place on God, and I have to make it up in my mind that I'm going to serve God wholeheartedly, and my life is not about money. Flip back to Matthew chapter 6. Now, Matthew 6:25, Jesus says, therefore I say to you. Jesus is expecting one to conclude that your mind is going to be focused on serving God. You're going to have good, healthy, spiritual focus. And he's just concluding that you're going to decide to be wholeheartedly committed to serving God and not being loyal and loving money. That you're going to put God first. So since you're going to put God first, therefore I say to you, do not, underline this, do not worry about your life. Somebody didn't get it. He literally just said, Do not worry about your life when fully serving God. When your spiritual focus is set on the Lord, you don't have to be worried. God is a God that takes care of all those who are completely loyal to Him. Do not worry about your life, about your everyday existence, what you will eat and drink, and about your body, what you shall put on. You don't have to worry about those things with God, because you can check the record. He's always taking care of His. The Bible paints Him as the good shepherd, not the evil shepherd. A shepherd that takes care of His sheep, a God that takes care of His people, and oftentimes His people have not just enough, He'll give them more than enough. It's not life. I want you to underline this. It's not life more than food and the body more than clothing. You're saying that life, you're thinking that life is all about money? Life is not all about money. There are things that money cannot buy. Money can't buy a faithful Christian. You can't buy me. I don't cost nothing. There's nothing you can offer me. I preach because I love to preach, and I receive funds because I have to take care of my family, but don't get it twisted now. I don't preach for money. I preach because I love God. And when you encounter all these faithful children of God, they're not here to see if God is going to give them $1. They're not here to summon a genie. They're here because they love God. They're fully committed to Him. They're trying their best to raise their children in the Lord. Who can buy a faithful spouse? A faithful spouse that it doesn't matter what you go through in life, that spouse is there through the thick and the thin. They're going to keep their vows. They're in it for the long haul. They're in it when you're making great decisions. They're in it still when you made terrible decisions. Money can't buy that. Money can't buy a spouse that will stand with you through the storms of life. Money can't buy that. Those who have thought that money could buy a good spouse have found out that when hard times come, that spouse is gone because they were never with you because of who you are. Money can't buy obedient children, children that will listen to their parents, that will follow instructions and love to do it. Children that have obeyed the gospel. Can you buy the beauty of seeing your child baptized? Money can't buy that, but if you're all about money, you may miss it. Money can't buy seeing a child born into the world. Can money buy reliable friends? Those who are with you no matter your financial status? They're not with you. They're not your friends because of your money. They're your friends because they love you. Money can't buy those individuals. Can money buy a good church family? Nope. Those fellowshipping with those who love God, building eternal relationship. The list goes on and on. There are things that money cannot buy. There's going to come a time well, someone may pass away in your life, and $1 won't stop the tears. Jesus saying there's stuff more. Look, God don't want you focused on money when there are things more important than money. You know, when I think of seeing my big mama, I want to see her again, but money can't buy me that seeing her again. But if I stay with Jesus, because she died as a faithful Christian, I'll get to see her again. So what does the Lord say? Do not worry about your life. There are things more important than money. You need to be focusing on your spiritual walk with God. You need to be focusing on being a faithful spouse. You need to focus on bringing your children up in the Lord. You need to be careful of your associates. There are things that are more important. And while you're focusing on those spiritual things, on those holy things, while you're focused on God, giving your whole life to Him, you need to know that God is going to take care of you now. If you fully commit yourself to God, now you know he's going to take care of you where there are not enough jobs in Victoria. Have you prayed about that? Have you really prayed about that? So you're saying that God is not powerful enough to open the door for you in this time in Victoria? You don't really believe. Let God, watch this. Jesus is not done. He's going to give you 3 pieces of evidence that God puts forth on why you should not worry. Look at the first piece of evidence, the birds. Verse 26. Look at the birds of the air. Now he's literally telling them to look. This is the Sermon on the Mount, and they're outside. He's saying, look at the birds. They neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father underlines, feeds them. Or you are not more valuable than they. Look, God takes care of the birds. They have a nest. They have food. Some of them have a spouse. So, they know their purpose. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're birds. And God takes care of the birds. They don't sow. They're not waiting for a harvest, but they have everything they need. And God says, you're more important than a bird. I take care of you. He says in verse 27, now you looked at the bird. Now look at yourself. Which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? In other words, you did not decide how tall you would be. Well, I got it from my daddy. Well, where did he get it from? He got it from my grandpa. Where did he get it from? Then where did the next person get it from? Then where did the next person get it from? Who determined it? God. God determined how tall you would be. Your stature. So why do you worry about clothing? God determined how tall you would be without your say. Surely he's able to clothe the body that he determined that it would be 5'10". I've been 5'10" since my senior year. I've enjoyed it. It was the right football height, for East Texas. I know about big 5'8" football. If you 5'10", you're right where you're supposed to be to lay the hat, football terminology. Hey, man, that's right. All right, I'm feeling a little more at home. We got some football. Look, so why do you worry about your clothing? God determined how tall you would be. He determined your stature. In other words, he put special attention on you. He put special attention on your height. He still puts special attention on you. You don't have to feel lonely. You don't have to feel abandoned, because when you serve God, you're not lonely. You're not abandoned. There is hope. There is an expectation for good, because God is taking care of you. Look at this. Not enough evidence, God said now. Verse 27, which you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature. So why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field. Consider the lilies, the flowers, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I say to you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Now, if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Notice what the Lord is saying. When you look at the lilies, when you look at the flowers, or when you look at all flowers and roses and so on, they're not doing a lot of work. How did they get that color? How did the lily get its color? Why is it so beautiful like that? God did it. He gave the lily its color. He gave flowers its color. You ever thought about that? Like, I love to buy my wife yellow roses. They are just dramatically beautiful. Who gave them that beauty? God did. And God says, you remember Solomon with all that, his riches and splendor? He was not as beautiful as that lily. He was not as glorious as that lily in his clothing. Now, since God clothed the grass and the flowers, it's here today and then it's thrown into the oven, do you actually think that God will forsake one who has committed his or herself to him? Truly, since he took care of the flower, he's going to take care of you. What's the problem? Oh, you of little faith. You have to believe. You have to trust and obey that God will keep his word, that if I fully commit myself to God, if I go wholeheartedly into serving God, that God is going to take care of me. He's going to take care of my spouse. He's going to take care of my children. He's going to help me through the situations in life. And God says the evidence that he puts forth says he will take care of you because he takes care of the birds. He determined your height, was putting a special attention on you, and he clothed the flower. Surely God has no problem making sure you're taken care of. You're not alone. In putting out all these points, knowing that if you focus on God and you be loyal to God, and you take the evidence that is shown, Jesus says in verse 31, therefore do not worry. Why? God is in control. I don't have to feel lonely. I don't have to be negative. I can stay positive. God has blessings in store for me. I'm not lonely. God is with me. I'm not an outcast. I'm in the family of God. I'm a child of God. Remember that old saying where individuals would say it boldly, I'm a child of God. I'm in the family of God. I'm a member of the church of Christ, the Lord's church. Therefore, do not worry. Do not be anxious and fearful, saying, what shall we eat and what shall we drink or what shall we wear? Don't talk like that. You don't know what I've been through. I understand, but we don't have to be negative about it because we have God. And since we have God, we have hope, and I can be fully committed to God, knowing that I will be well taken care of spiritually, in my soul, mentally, and physically. Now, come with me to Psalm 84 and the verses 11. Psalm 84 and the verse is 11. Psalm 84, 11. Watch the encouragement that the psalmist gives in Psalm 84, 11. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will he withhold from those who walk uprightly. O Lord of hosts, blessed is the man who trust in you. Notice the Lord is a sun. He gives spiritual life. He's a shield, protection. And the Lord will give grace, unmerited favor. What do you need for your personal life? What do you need for your marriage? What do you need for your children? What do you need for the local congregation? God gives it. The Lord will give. That's a promise. And see, when I'm walking with God, I'm walking on the promises of God. We sing the song, Standing on the Promises of Christ my King. Well, I'm standing on promises in which I have a solid foundation that allows me to live fearlessly by faith. That I don't have to live a life all hopeless and negative. I know God is going to take care of me. I know God is going to open the door. I know that everything will be all right. I don't have to lose my mind. I don't have to live a stressed life, living a life that's depressed and sitting in darkness. You ever seen someone that they just want to sit in darkness? Wow, they're depressed and they're lonely. Well, I come this morning to tell you that when you focus on God and you serve God, depression and loneliness has to flee. The Lord is going to take care of you, and he will give grace and glory. He'll give you some things that'll keep you mentally stable and spiritually stable. No good thing will he withhold. God says, I have everything you need. You just need to focus on me. From those who walk uprightly, focus on living a faithful Christian life. That's your duty. Focus on following the good shepherd. See, the sheep can't literally take care of themselves. I know that we think that we take care of ourselves, but sheep can't take care of themselves. That's the shepherd's job. He's the one that allows me to say, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He's the one that gives me peace inwardly and tranquility inwardly. I'm at ease and I'm at peace because my God leads my life. Somebody this morning needs to know that as long as you're following the good shepherd, you will have peace. It's just sometimes the devil will tamper with your mind. Don't let the devil tamper with your mind now. Don't let him mess with your mind. Win the battle that's going on in your head. Win the battle that's going on in your soul. Some of us, Satan has told us we are nothing, nobody, and you will never amount to nothing. Some of us, Satan wants us to hold on to our past. Well, you grew up like this, therefore, you can't expect nothing. The devil is a lie, and all things, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good. See, that's the positive mindset that the Lord wants us to have. And it says in Psalm 84, verse 12, O Lord of hosts, blessed is the man, not cursed. Not cursed if you focused on God. Not cursed if you decide that you're going to wholeheartedly serve Jesus. But blessed is the man or the woman who places full confidence in you. I'm not cursed because I have decided to give my life wholeheartedly to ministry, and I'm going to be in all the services of the church, and I'm going to live this faithful Christian life, and I'm going to focus on doing the will of God, and I'm going to be a faithful Christian husband, and I'm going to be reliable in the local congregation. Man, I'm blessed. And I'm too blessed to be stressed. Too blessed to be stressed. All this goodness that God has coming my way, all this goodness God has coming your way. Why are you going to live a life depressed and sitting inside and close the blinds and paint the window black? All this lost when you don't have God. But when you have God, good things are coming your way. Flip back to Psalm 34. Flip back to Psalm 34 in the verses 8. Want someone to leave here encouraged. Encouraged. We want to be sound. We want to be healthy, but being sound and healthy means you have to be encouraged to serve the Lord. Psalm 34 in the verses 8. Psalm 34 in the verses 8. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. He's not bad. He's good. And notice this. Blessed, once again, blessed is the man who places full confidence in him. God is good. See, now you're deciding I'm going to put my spiritual focus on God, and my life is not about money. It's all about God. Therefore, I have to remember God is good, and I'm blessed because I place all my confidence in him. He will not let you down. God will not let you down. See, I put everything on his lap. I place all my life on his table, and I'm saying, God, I'm trusting you to take complete care of me. Oh, fear the Lord, verse 9, fear the Lord, you his saints. Notice, there's no want to those who fear him. Look, we're not even talking about needs. God said ain't no wants either. I need a new vehicle. Hold on, he opened the door, he got you. Well, I want this and I want that. Look, focus on God, but don't go crazy over it. There's no want to those who fear him. The young lions lack and suffer hunger, but those who seek, those who go after the Lord, when God is their focus, how do you seek it? How do you seek it? Well, you have to be fully committed to serving God. You have to study his word. You have to have a strong prayer life. You have to live faithful in your own time. You have to be committed to coming to church, to the assemblies of the saints. And when you seek after the Lord, when you go after the Lord, but those who seek the Lord shall not lack any good thing. Did you get that? Shall not lack any good thing. Since God has given me his word, letting me know that if I focus on him, if I make obeying his word my priority, he is good, he will supply, which equals do not worry. he has you taken care of. Don't let fear, worry, anxiety take hold of you. Don't become so negative that you give up on life. If you just hold on, keep serving the Lord, stay in his word, and stay positive, you will find out that you never had any need to worry. I once had a brother that, I was leaving one church, and the brother told me, he said, "Well, Brandon, I hope you get lucky." Luck is for leprechauns, not for Christians. I trust in the providential hand of God. I'm not worried on luck. I'm not worried about luck. See, a lucky person is trying to roll dice. A person that trusts in the providential care of God, I'm going to live faithful, and I'm going to give all my cares to him, and I'm going to trust that as I live faithful, that he will open another door. Just because one door closes, that's not the end of the world. Matter of fact, some of you can say that when you got fired from that job, it was the greatest thing that ever happened. You didn't want to be there anyway. God helped to get you out the door. And now you have something better going on with your life, and things are working out for your life. What is Jesus telling us? Focus on God, focus on serving him and being a faithful Christian, and do not worry. God is in control.
Lord, make me an eagle. Give me the strength to rise above all of life's tribulations. Help me to reach